Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Peshawar Model Degree College Online Lecture Room. Dear students, this is Miss Fatima Shakir and today we are going to read a very interesting sonnet that is titled as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? Now let's see who the poet is and what the poem is all about. Okay, so the poet is William Shakespeare and the poem is titled as Shall I Compare Thee to a Summer's Day? Now, the word thee means you, right? My dear students, William Shakespeare is a personality whom every one of you is, I hope so, aware. I'm not going to introduce William Shakespeare again because recently in one of the poem, now this is your task, okay? Recently in one of the poem, we had discussed William Shakespeare as well. So let's see what the poem is all about. But before that, look at the title. Is the title a different one? Obviously, can you see that there is a question mark? Now what is it? This is known as a rhetorical question in literature, okay? If there comes a question and the question is in the form of, you could say, is titled, obviously, so you could come up with this thing that this is known as a rhetorical question. Now, what is a rhetorical question? It's a figure of speech which actually means that a poet or a person asks a question without needing an answer. Is that clear to you? I hope so. Okay, let's see what happens next. Now, you can see that this is a poem. And in the beginning, you can see that Shakespeare is addressing someone and he says, Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? He says, Should I compare you with a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. And suddenly he says, No, why should I compare you with a summer's day? Because you are different than them. You are different than, you could say, summer days and all that. Why? He says you are more lovely and more temperate. You are a personality which is completely different than, you could say, the summer days. Because summer days are really full of, you could say, heat and scorching days and everything, right? Now again, you can see over here, he mentions rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. And he mentions in summer you could witness that there are winds that are really rough and those are annoying one. So, okay. Let's see what the, you could say, poet has hidden in this poem. Let's come up to the next slide, okay? Right, so you can see that before everything that I'm going to mention now, you should keep one thing in your mind. It is assumed and it is said that Shakespeare has written 154 sonnets. This is a, you could say, confirm note that Shakespeare has written 154 sonnets, but it is assumed, some people say, that he has written it for a, you could say, dark lady, and some of them says that he has written it for a fair youth. Youth mean a boy. Now there is, you could say, some people are of different opinions, but besides that, we would be considering that this poem is written, you could say, from both perspectives, we can just witness it. So we can see that the poet in the beginning of the poem, he says that he cannot compare his beloved, whomsoever that beloved is, whether that's a dark lady or that's a fair youth. He says, you can't be compared to the summer days. Why? Because you are lovelier and milder than that. You could see, he mentions that stormy winds are there in summer and what they does, they destroy the rosebuds and they destroy everything, and happiness that is not lasting forever, rather that is for a shorter period of time. But he says, and the sun, it's also very hot and the rays are dim and everything is just something that is not appealing to the senses. But he says, let me tell you, you are not like that. Why? The reason is, so he mentions something that is surprising over here. He believes that everything that is beautiful, it is going to lose its beauty one day. But he believes that his friend, or you could say the beloved that he is addressing, he or she is the one whose beauty will never fade. Now, how is that possible? Because one day his beloved or friend is going to die as well. So how could that happen? Because all of us are mortal. So he believes that, in fact, death, it can also never ever succeed or enjoy its victory over his friend. The reason is because he believes that I have something that is really special and unique. And what is that? He believes that I have something that is my poetry. Surely he believes that the verses that I'm going to write, they would remain forever. I can also die, and I surely I am also going to die, and you will also die, but something that would be left behind, that would be the verses that I would write just because for you. So he believes that this is something which is going to be read by everyone, by every generation. And he says that his friend may die physically, but the beauty would remain in that poem. And as long as human race remains, means he means to say till doomsday, he means to say this thing. He's saying that my sonnet is something that will live till ends. And you can see this is an example. He has written it centuries ago and we can still see it. So this is something that is going to please in order to, you could say, he's going to please his beloved with this thing that she or he is going to live immortal life. Okay, so you can see that William Shakespeare, he thinks that his love is incomparable. And so this is something that is making the poem as a, you could say, unique one and a special one than others, okay? This is sonnet number 18 and it focuses on the loveliness of a friend. And besides that, as I mentioned before, he was asking a rhetorical question in the beginning. So he believes that weather is something that is having its pros and cons and it changes. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's really annoying, sometimes it's really harsh. So he's saying that I'm not going to mention you with that as well because you are far more better than that as well. And this is just because important, because in a sense you could say the theme that is just lying hidden here is actually not hidden, but rather it's very clear because he believes that someday we will die and likely be forgotten, but the beauty of the beloved, it's never ever going to die because he has the capability to immortalize her in his text. And this is something when we can believe that his beloved, according to Shakespeare, he believes that his beloved or his friend has a beauty that is everlasting. And that's why he decided to write something about her and to appreciate her and to save her in his lives forever. So you can see metaphor is also used over here, which is when he in the very beginning asks, should I compare thee to a summer's day? So this is automatically a metaphor and besides that a rhetorical question too. Okay, so this was the end of the poem. I hope you had understood it because it's the most simplest one, right? And the task that you are supposed to do is write down the critical appreciation of the poem. That was it. Thank you so much.